Name is Otonu. He expects some arrears. It's not much, but for them it's an amount which can be utilized in the best possible way. So he thinks about what to do with that extra money. So he plans, he takes one decision, but he believes that the decision is final only when approved by his better half. So he fixes afternoon hours. So they discuss all the options with an open mind, and husband's proposal was discussed, then wife says something, then there are many options. They go on discussing, and this story is basically about this. And finally what happens, that I think you have to read the story to enjoy it better. I don't want to read it because it sounds dull, because I cannot read the full story. So I think you can, not for only my story, but we must appreciate the efforts of Ukiyoto. They are bringing together some unique anthologies with innovative themes. And I think a good reader must make collections of these anthologies, because they are having writers from all corners of the country. Young writers basically, and then oldies like me also, so getting a new blood of life and writing once again with a vigor. So I think it's a pioneering service by Ukiyoto Publishing, and they are going to be a game changer in the publishing industry, and I wish them all the luck. Thank you so much.
All of you. Thank you, Ukiyoto, for this opportunity to showcase my story within this edition. I basically write poetries and short stories, and other than all genres, from children's to others, one more favorite topic is mine is LGBT or homosexuality, where there's so much problems and taboos. So this story, that is a 500 rupee note that is being published in this book, showcasing that trauma or the problem. And I'd like to read a poem in the end of that story I have placed over here. This is about two young gentlemen. I don't want to disclose much over there, but the problem that faced about the sexual integrity or whatever of a person, he understood that he is little different from others, and they could not open up, first of all to the families and then the society, and whatever all problems that occur after over there. How to solve that one? The only option is the support from the family, and then that can proceed further to overcome with that. My story is like this. Over a vast land in the Tarai region of Darjeeling, there was a government-run dairy farm. The place had a pleasant and pristine environment smeared in tranquility. The farm was sandwiched between the forest on one side and the tea garden on the other side, which spread far and wide. The farm's office employed 10 to 12 people to look after official works, whereas other groundworks like milking the cattle, feeding them, etc. are done by local people from nearby village. One such person was Budhua, around 45 to 46 years old. Budhua lived with his only son Surya, who was first graduate from his village. Surya's mother passed away when Surya was just 10 years old. Before no one had gone to the college, and most of his friends had not even finished school or passed school final. They either joined the tea garden as workers or worked as farmers or construction workers in the city. Surya has continued with his studies with all his willpower and perseverance against all odds. By nature, he was calm and friendly and talked significantly less. He was indeed a gentleman with an honest heart and had been always helpful to others. His best friends were his books and nature. He could spend time entire day with his books or just spending time sitting along the bank of the bubbling river Balasa. Meanwhile, a young, handsome and smart person called Rajesh had joined the dairy farm as a junior officer. He was from Kolkata, and after arrival, he was a little disappointed with the solitude that the place presented him with before of all the comfort and pleasure of the city of joy. The organization had given him a beautiful, well-furnished quarter within the farm with all amenities. However, he missed his life in Kolkata, especially the evenings and nightclubs, as after the sunset, there was nothing much to do for him. After this, what happens to them, how they come closer or how they identify each other and what are the problems that faced is being there disclosed in the story. I would like to conclude with this poem, one poem I wrote in the same story. It was for Surya. This one is speak by Surya in the poem. I was a lost soul with a confused heart amidst the chaos, until the day you came into my life. You held my hand and opened the door to a new world, a world of love, a world of happiness. But today, your absence is heavier than your love. This emptiness is difficult to bear where you left me behind. The petal of the flowers and the leaves on every branch. They ask me about you. Their gentle touch reminds me how you lifted me in your lap. My eyes unknowingly steal a look at the padlock of your office when my mind often drifts away from my desk. I know not why I'm scared to face my old friends. Their firing eyes seems to be laden with unanswered questions. I don't know the reason why you went away. I don't know the reason why you were silent. The day you left me alone, I cried out in agony. My loneliness is mingled with my sigh. The day you humiliated me, you hurt me to my bones, but I couldn't throw myself off a cliff. Every single day I cry for my foolishness. Every single day I die in my loneliness. Every single day I hope for a new beginning. Thus, the days are going on with you and me on different orbits of the galaxy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me introduce myself. I'm a neuropsychiatrist by profession, and I've been practicing in Kolkata for more than 25 years. I had a passion for writing when I was a kid, but the long hours at work took its toll, and my passion was relegated to the back seat. However, 5 years back, I took up the pen once again, and this time not to write prescriptions, but to write poems and stories. Since then, I've been writing both prose and poetry, and a number of my works have been published in different magazines and anthologies. Till date, I have 3 publications to my credit: a Bengali novella called Bhalobashar Onek Rong, which was in fact selected by Ukiyoto publication earlier this year for the Women Writer of the Year award. And apart from that, I also have 2 anthologies of short stories, Joler Gobhire Chand and Olud Shari Neel Utun. Last year, I contributed a story to the Wide Awake anthology, which was published by Ukiyoto. This year, I have been fortunate enough to get my story, Homeward Bound, selected for the Stories from India anthology. My story harks back to 2020 when the world was in the grip of the COVID pandemic. At that point of time, like the other countries all over the world, India had also gone down into the lockdown mode. During this period, people faced many hardships, and the worst affected were the migrant laborers. And my story focuses on the plight of 4 such laborers who were stranded in Hyderabad with no means and little money to spare, and they make a desperate bid to come back to their native village in West Bengal. Now you have to read my story to find out whether they finally accomplish their mission or not. I'll just read out a few excerpts from my story. I think I'll have to leave early next month, Salma. There is no hope of finding a job here. All the young men are traveling to different parts of the country to work as laborers. I have heard that they are earning reasonably well. I have decided to try my luck. Shariful had confided in his wife. Where are you planning to go? Salma had asked a bit apprehensively. I've heard from Banu Walida that a newly opened factory in Hyderabad is recruiting laborers and paying a handsome wage too. So I have decided to go there next month. Hyderabad, Salma had explained, but it's so far. How will I manage to look after your ailing father and Babu all alone? When you worked in Kolkata, you visited us at least once a month, but that is hardly possible if you go off to such a far-flung place. You have to be patient, Salma. If I can work there for at least 5 years, I'll be able to save some money. Then I'll come back to our village and start poultry farming. We don't have too many options still. Babu is also growing up very fast. I want to provide him with a good education so that he doesn't have to slog like me to earn a living. Salma knew that it was no use arguing with Shariful. He had already decided. After all, what Shariful had stated was absolutely true. There was nothing left in this village. That faraway city probably held the key to their future. Wiping a single tear rolling down her cheek, she had said, "Try to visit us at least once a year, Babu's Abba." That was nearly 2 years back. Now coming to the present scenario, the country had gone into a lockdown and these workers, they were facing a real problem. I'll just read another paragraph from my story. Next day, being Monday, they went about their work as usual. However, as Bonomali and Shoriful sat down for lunch in the afternoon, the siren rang. Taken by surprise, all the workers rushed out of the mess. As they gathered in the main hall, the manager appeared with a microphone in his hand. I have an important announcement to make. Everyone should leave the premises of the factory in the next 1 hour. We are closing down the factory for a few days until the situation improves. You will receive your full salary early next month, so you guys don't need to worry. Please try to reach your quarters by 5 in the evening. If you are found roaming on the roads after that, you might get arrested. You can disperse now. Now, coming to the next part, 2 weeks rolled by, money was running out and the foursome was becoming frantic. One day, early in the morning, Shariful and Bonomali managed to dodge the police and reach the factory to collect their wages. But it was in vain. The factory gates were locked and the entire compound looked deserted. After several hours, they realized it was futile to wait any longer. Somehow, they sneaked back to their shanty. Now days flew past, but there was no change in the situation. Confined inside the small room, Shariful would spend his days staring at the slice of the sky visible from the small window. While he stared vacantly at the distant sky, he thought about his ailing father, his wife Salma, his little kid Babu, and his village that he had left behind, and a dull ache would start gnawing at his heart. Every evening at sunset, he despondently watched flocks of birds returning to their nests. Would he ever be able to go back home? Now coming to the concluding part, they take a decision and they start a journey towards their native place in West Bengal. Vikash, the leader of the other group, suggested, "We will follow the rail tracks, then we will not lose our way." walking day after day in the sizzling sun, sometimes stopping by their roadside langars that had sprung up to feed the needy. Sometimes they spent the night cold and drenched, praying fervently for the rains to stop. Some days they had to go hungry when food was scarce. But nothing could deter them. After resting for a few hours every night, they would face the next day with renewed hope to fight against all odds. Now coming to the final part of their journey, as the hours passed, a full moon appeared on the eastern horizon. In the inscrutable light of the full moon, the rain tracks and surrounding shrubbery looked almost magical. As everyone drifted off to sleep, Shariful sat on his haunches to keep himself from falling asleep. He gazed at the silvery moon and thought about Salma. His was a love marriage. Before marriage, he had led a carefree life. He used to meet Salma on the slides in the bamboo grove behind their house. Memories of those moonlit nights flooded Shariful's heart. He looked at the moon longingly. Maybe Salma was also lying awake in bed, staring at this beautiful moon and thinking about him. Only a matter of few days more, then he will be with Salma again. This time, no matter what happened, he would never leave home to earn a living. As he heard the whistle of the approaching train, he was jolted out of his reverie. Now you have to read the rest of my story to know what happens finally and whether they accomplish their mission or not. Thank you, Ukiyoto, for providing me with this wonderful opportunity to read out my story in front of such an august audience. Thank you.
Okay, I was not really prepared for this. My story is called The Bioscope. As Indians and as Bengalis, to be very honest, we all are entwined with the cinema, the real world. So my story and their characters, they are in 4 excerpts, starting from 1950 to 2022. How different generations and their lives are somewhat, mixed and matched between cinemas. Like, I have heard from my mom, and in Bengali, of course. I'm not sure many of you will get it, but I like to translate that. What you see in a movie is very closely related to what happens in your real life. It is loosely based on that. So keeping all these things in mind, the main character, who's a scriptwriter, okay. Now, she is in a very debatable mood with the producer of the film, because according to her, the producer just wants to throw money and doesn't really care about the emotions and the battles that a scriptwriter goes through while writing a story, what we go through, we think through. Now, in this debate, at the end, it is for her to decide whether she gives in to, the whims and fancies of the producer, because at the end of the day, he's paying for what she's writing, or she listens to her heart and sticks to the exact words and exact connotations of what she has written. And amidst this, and we being millennials, we are a sucker for romance. So there's a little romantic angle between the director, who's her best friend, and ultimately, while going through the final draft of the story and making minor changes to it, she finally realizes that maybe she is in love with her best friend, or maybe not, and what happens to the story is somewhat, it might sound a little materialistic, but the fate of the story might decide the fate of their love lives, and whether it is a friendship, or whether the guy will be friend zoned for life, or there is something really to work this thing out. So if you guys are buying it, kindly go through the story of Bioscope. I'm very sure that you will be liking it. Thank you.
People out there. Before I start and talk about my story, let me introduce myself. Software engineer by the degree, but then an IT professional, and then switched into completely different career, not at all related to IT. Radio jockey, TV anchor, actor, director, scriptwriter, marriage and relationship counselor, and the greatest of all, an author. Well, why I'm saying greatest of all? Because I believe we authors, we writers, we have capability to create impact through our stories, our words. And I believe this is powerful. All the words, the pen, the thoughts we have, we are powerful. Kudos to you all. Well, coming back to the main purpose of standing here, stories of India. My story, it is not just a story, but it is inspired from a real character, which I have seen personally. I have felt the emotions, and I have tried to create this story with all a little bit of my drama as well. Of course, as a writer, we have to create dramas. So this is emotional drama, some tragedy, some interesting facts. The story, the name of the story is Mental Paltu. Wondering what's the name? Mental Paltu? Yes. So this guy named Paltu has been called mental all of his life from the day he's born. Because maybe his activities or something, his behavior, whatever it is that you have to read in the story. Why he's been called mental? From his own family members too. He has gone through a lot of drama, a lot of tragedy in his life. From the day he's born, his family is not liking him at all. Whatever he has gone through, you have to read it out. And one fine day, when he's young, he makes an action. He takes a, he does something which completely, drastically changes his life. Now what's that? That is also you have to read in the book. This is entire change in his life with this one action, and that is beautiful according to me as a writer. I think I have done a great job, and I think I am going to create that impact on your life too, because when you're going to read this story, you will definitely going to feel some emotions inside you. So with that note, I'm stopping here to talk about my story, but I want to thank Ukiyoto for such a meaningful and such a beautiful platform for all of us as a writer, so that we can share ideas, our thoughts, our stories, everything, and the books, which is beautiful, I think. Thank you so much. That's it.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So it's nice again back into this event. I think it's fourth for me, and every time I come to this event, it becomes better, and a lot of new authors and writers to meet, many poets to meet, and it's always a great privilege. So just a small introduction for myself. I'm professionally an IT consultant, but as you know, like every one of you here, there's a passion, of course, I'm pursuing, and that is the passion for writing. And I started, I think, seriously, I started, I think, in 2019, and thanks to Ukiyoto, especially, and I always mention my college senior, Janil Mandal, see him over here, because he is the one who actually inspired me to publish a book of my own, which I never thought of. So like now, my journey is now ongoing with Ukiyoto. Started with a poetry book, travel magazine, because I'm a travel freak and I have a travel blog of myself, so that's my interest as well. And there are a lot of anthologies which comes up in Ukiyoto, which you all know, and I'm part of it. So Stories from India was, when it came out, though I was not very prompt on it, a lot of volumes came before that, but then I'm thankful that my article, every one of you have written stories, poems, and I think I was the odd one out. I wrote an article on India because even if in my travel blog I like talking about India, because there are many things which not only we as Indians, but also when I speak with the people from abroad, they ask do we have such things in India? It can be any traditions, it can be any customs, it can be any festivals, it can be any places. But what I wanted to write here is not about any places or something of India, but since we are now into this digital world and all, and online everything, I tried somewhat, I don't know how much, to focus our minds into something which we are not, maybe because of the modern era, some paintings, some traditional attire. Like if you draw the map of India, if you look into all the states, see you have different attire, and that is, if you present to the world, it's like amazing, right? You will never find it in any other part of the world if you draw the map and see the states over there. There are a lot of languages, there are a lot of musical instruments which we are tending to forget maybe because of this modern world and modern instruments and everything, music which is coming up. So I named this article as Tilottama India because I love this word. It's a colloquial Bengali word which has some focus on celestial in terms of the Hindu mythology, and that's what I wanted to grab the privilege to introduce Mother India with the 4 qualities which I tell the finest qualities she has in our possession: the paintings, the traditional attire, the folk dances, and the Indian musical instrument. So I do not want to read out something from here because this is it's somewhat of research work, somewhat of places which I visited in India. So all those accumulated I tried to pen down here. Maybe you will like it because this is not like visiting to a place, looking at some renowned things and all, but something which is inherent in our culture, which actually speaks of the richness of our culture, richness of our tradition, something which is old forgotten. So I wanted to talk about in this article. So that's what I hope you will enjoy reading it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our society has a lot of problems, and around them we have the so-called moral custodians who try to give us templatized solutions. When I write more about them because I feel a templatized solution cannot work in our society. So this story that I have written in Stories from India revolves around a school kid and his father. When the school kid doesn't want to go to school anymore, and the father wants him to go because of the learnings that you get in school. So I'll read some excerpts. I'll jump here and there, but try to organically stitch them together and request you to read the book if you want to read the full story. Dad, why can't I be homeschooled like my friends who live in other countries? I don't want to go to school anymore. I promise to get good grades in the exams. I will learn the books from cover to cover. And if I ever get stuck, there's YouTube videos to help me out. But son, education is not only about learning what's printed in the books. School teaches us the way of life. You can't make friends at home. Maybe you don't understand now, but when you grow up, you will realize that your school is your first exposure to diversity. Dropping out of school is not an option. I lean back on my chair and recount the most important lessons of life I learned during my formative years at school. One lesson. We walk for appraisals. How old was I? 5 or 6? I really do not remember. My parents had the desire to put me in a convent school. There was supposed to be an admission test for which I had to learn the names of friends, fruits, days, months, etc. They would ask us to write 5 names of any one of them. In line with the reputation of the school, the number of applicants far overshot their capacity for holding such tests, and it got spilled over weekends. I distinctly remember my mother calling up moms of other aspirants and asking about the series that their kids were asked to write. Fruits, okay, Then she would strike through it. I was not supposed to learn the names of fruits anymore. The elimination process brought it down to the names of friends in my case. I learned I have friends called Tom, Bob, Tim, Sam, and Dave. None of my friends had a name with more than 3 letters. So this is how I passed the admission test. Now in mid-school, another learning that you hide your vulnerabilities carefully. I had always been a dreamer. Transitioning into adolescence had been tough for me. Studying in an all-boys school did not give me much of an option to interact with girls of my age. While studying in class 10, I started going to a couple of tuition classes to help me with my weaker subjects. After all, secondary board exams were just around the corner. There was this girl in my batch. Need I say more? Infatuation, love, friendship, whatever they call it now, took its toll. My grades started slipping. For the first time in my life, my marks were written using the red ink. Our principal found it necessary for me to have sessions with the school counselor. I was under the impression that whatever I shared during the sessions would be confidential, till the teachers started calling me lover boy in class. The last lesson that I would like to read out here before I stop. Those in power get to decide. Always a fan of fountain pens, I gifted my long treasured pen to my son when he transitioned from pencil to pen in school. I was shocked when he came back from school. Fountain pens are not allowed in school. The teacher said that my handwriting will go bad if I use fountain pens. I had insisted that he uses the pen. Ma'am has made it clear that she will not collect my copies if I use fountain pens. There was no arguing after that. I just recall that my teacher had maintained the same position, the only difference being that she favored fountain pens over the ballpoint ones. Just the opposite. So a few lessons that we learn from small incidents around us. That's what I write about. For the other lessons, I would request you to buy the book and go through them. Thanks.
I hope you're doing well. Shubha Vijaya and welcome to my city of joy for the people who are from the outside the city. And congratulations to those award winners. Kudos to your work. Keep it up. So here I start introducing myself. Yes. It seems philosophical. Yeah. The home is where the heart is. So is writing for me. I would feel a deep connection when it comes to writing. I never spend, without a day of, I don't go to sleep without writing, even the smallest of the poems or the short stories. That is me. I hail from the city of joy, Kolkata, and I'm working in Bengaluru. So, writing helps me to express my emotions and motivates to increase my creative imagination. The characters which I help them, to give a touch of the vividness of papers. In a word, I would say that I'm more than passionate when it comes to writing because I involve my experiences, even others' experiences that I see, that I hear from them, and then I jot it down and then form stories. And Ukiyoto helped me to launch my first story with the Stories of India in 2019. And I'm much glad to be a part of this family of Ukiyoto. Now, I would talk about my story, the Rack and Ruin. So the story is based on the tragic story of Mr. and Mrs. Rai Shalifo, who face eviction from their apartment with no place to turn. The jobless coal truck driver
and his wife decide to sell their 4 children. Mrs. Lucy Shelley Fox turns her head from the camera and she thinks, what will be the scenario when she sells her children? So my story is based upon the true story, 4 Children for Sale. My story unfolds how a mother could not bear the pain of poverty and decided to sell off her children. They were separated from their parents and had been taken off to the houses of strangers. Who knew their life would take a tumultuous turn and the father would have to let them go as financial instability got them there, and his addiction got stiff and kept him jobless for most of the time. I would like to read part of an excerpt from the story. Was it justified for the nippers to be shown a world which was far from their rumination? Jenny and Andrew would accompany their other 2 infant siblings every morning on the breakfast table. On the other hand, Lucy would be on top of her voice. Martin, have I not told you to stop bringing such expensive cereal for the kids? To her fuming anger, he would stay quiet. We are already running low in acres since last month, and for your favorite little Jenny, you will spend the last savings. As if we have won some lottery. We would not exchange words for half a day, and Martin would leave for the fast food chain every morning. After the usual scuffle would go on. The days passed, and the siblings would wait with much eagerness for the parents to play with them and spend some time telling them stories. Charles and Clara, come down. Lucy was furious, watching the 2 little kids running on the terrace playing a trick. The 2 elder siblings wrapped them in their arms and slowly walked down the stairs to the hallway. Now, go and take these clothes to wash. Your father is away, and I have other chores to do apart from feeding and wasting my time with you kids. The plight disheartened them, which the little ones could not complain to the father. One day, Martin returned home tipsy, swinging from the main door to the inside of the hall. He tried a chair and sat on it with a glass of water in his hands. Andrew whispered into Jenny's ears, I have seen our father like this the other day, and then he started fighting with Mama. Is he going to beat her up again? From the kitchen, Lucy heard his husband get in the house singing a bizarre song, and she came outside with a wooden stick in her hand. What more can I expect from you, jobless fella? He stood up and swung towards her with a bottle. Lady, you know me so well. Why do you not leave me forever? She stood quiet that night. The next morning, when Jenny woke up and got out of the house to get some veggies from the nearby market, her mother stopped her. Jenny, I'll be coming with you. I have some groceries to buy. But Mama, how will you carry so many things? Won't the baby in your tummy get hurt? Oh no, it's absolutely fine. We both would share the load. The girl stared at her mom for some time. So I would just stop here because I want everyone to read this story. It's based on the true story and how the psychology, the emotions changes. When the children gets to know they're getting sold and they're going to the stranger's house. So they were separated from their parents and have been taken up to the houses of strangers who knew the life would take a different turn for them. And from the true story, what I read was the children grew up and then they came back to the parents and questioned, but their mother never had repented what she did. So I did a little bit of twist. I had written some fiction, added some fiction to the true story and written this beautiful small story. Thank you everyone for bearing with me today.
I want to read the first chapter of my story. That sacred fairy is a supernatural story. That sacred fairy is a supernatural story. First chapter. Since my childhood, one question used to haunt me again and again. What is next after death? Does demise mean an unperturbed and relaxed slumber? There will be no urgency to work up one day. Does death mean the failure of heart and there will be no feelings at all? What will the soul do after death? Will the soul get united with the great soul of Paramatma, or will it wander around a ghost? Will there be salvation or will there be a new rebirth? Is heaven and hell real? Are Yamraj, Chitragupta all imaginary or fabricated? Are they real? All this type of questions used to make me think. It is inscribed in the Shastras that after birth there will be death and rebirth after death. Thus, birth and death will continue to occur in a recyclic way. It is the only salvation that can make us free from this cycle of death. That means this physique of ours is not the actual manifestation. The real truth is our soul. Our body is subject to decay, but our soul is immortal. The soul enters from one body to another and finally it is liberated. Hence, when we roughly demand that we have souls in our body, it would absolutely be incorrect. Instead, we may opine that we have a body for our souls. Death is not something that one can enjoy. Abandonment of the self-delusion of our body is not an easy task. Even not a single person wishes to quit this beautiful world. Family, relatives and pals whom I used to make love for so long, it is beyond my wish to leave them for good. Yet one has to leave all the illusion of this world and die one day, and that is the truth. When death entered my life, I was 45. At the time of my death, it seemed that a dark tunnel was rushing at me, and a few animal looking like cats seemed to run past me. I wanted to write down that cruel feelings, but failed. Pointing to my son and daughter, I asked them to fetch an exercise book and pen, but I had died before they fetched the notebook and pen. After death, when my soul was free from my body, at that very moment I observed that holding my dead body, my children were crying profusely. That is the first chapter. Thank you, everyone.
First, I would like to thank Ukiyoto for the refreshing tea in the morning. I guess based on that we are surviving till now. All of us, I guess. So thank you, Ukiyoto, for that. All of us enjoyed it, and I think none of us would mind a second round of that at this point of time. So we would all have loved it. So the point is, one of the recognized guests have told that that you have to be really to make your book work. You have to have two factors. One is a very good publishing house, and secondly is luck or timing. So thankfully I've got the first one, and my relation with this house goes back to 2019 when Zilla was published, series from India. But as far as the timing and luck goes, it's pretty tricky because I haven't got a copy in hand of my own book right at now, because next week, probably another 10 days later, they'll be releasing the volume 4, because some discussions are going on regarding filmmaking or something like that. So right now I don't have an excerpt to disturb you with or bother you with actually. As far as tea and coffee, this debate goes, I think there are many people who will vouch for tea, that's the best drink on earth, and some will definitely go for coffee. So my story deals with something. I won't be giving you a background of myself, because if you are wondering what's my name, I have not yet made one. Once I make name, you will get to know who I am. But the person who is incessantly taking my videos and photographs, that person legally married Madhura Biswas. So that is one thing, and definitely in my story I have tried to recall one of my experiences of a very tender moment spent with my colleagues, and I am sure that all of you must have got these lovely experiences while sipping tea or coffee at your home, or maybe in Darjeeling or whatever. So as I was saying, that I won't take much of your time, but definitely the tea treat is on me, and if you want to have that treat with me, please buy volume 4, Tea at 420 by Madhura Biswas. Thank you.
Good afternoon to all. So, I have been writing for some time, especially in Bengali. Thanks to Ukiyoto Publishing for getting first of my English short story within this book. So, I will go straight into my short story. It's known as Unshackled. I will just read out the prologue. The sea seems to be a bit noisy today. Under the clear sky, the waves that lash the rocky shore are visibly impatient, as if asking, how long? How much more do we wait? 3 heads can be seen on the pavement overlooking the sea. 3 is always the number. Perhaps it nullifies the boredom of binary and yet doesn't sound like a crowd. As one of them checks the time, the one in the middle chuckles with a tinge of anxiety. It's 11. She mentioned 10 to me. And then the mobile is also switched off. So I will not read any more. So here these 3 young people sitting on the beaches of Mumbai, just an hour before it is going to be midnight and we will get into 15th August, that is Indian Independence Day. And these 3 people, namely Kesari, Shweta and Harita, they have their journey. So in this story, I have tried to get their journey in and how they have reached that moment and what happens in that moment for whom they are waiting. And for all that, you have to read this book, especially the story. And not only my story, all others that have come in together in this anthology, Stories from India. Please buy it, read it, it will encourage all of us. Thank you all.
My respect to all the writers, the budding genius, the seniors, the intellectual giants, or the connoisseurs. And the special thanks and regards to the organizers or the publishing company. And next to it, the patience with which the compeer is totally just controlling the matter. Now, as a writer, I have more than 200 short stories to my credit, 5 or 6 novels in the commercial and also in little magazines. And I had 3 projects before me. One is on the Kulinism of Bengal, based on which, after 10 years research, I have come out to the end, that is Kolino, that is the next production. And after that, I had been researching on Kashmir conundrum, and that Kashmir novel or fiction that will be coming later on. So that is going on for the individual information about my story. So that famous line comes to my mind. What is that? Life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and beauty, signifying nothing. But I find that as a writer, I have my knees down on the dust. I have seen, witnessed one grandma of 80 years. She proved that life is not a tale told by an idiot. It is a tale told by humanity. And it is a burst, a big thing to live on. I saw the grandma. She was just carrying baskets of vegetables to the daily bazaar. And I asked, "Oh grandma, how long will you do it?" "Since my death." This struck me. And I just studied the entire situation along with that character really, in reality. I found that family, she was like a guardian angel, protecting the family from every farthing wastage, every food grain wastage. The story enters, the story begins with one thing. She chiding the daughter-in-laws. Why are you wasting food grain? Why are you doing these things? And then she carries with her the history of a whole lifetime, her family in face of a famine, how food was just protected, saved for the future to come. And she was horrified seeing that the ants were devouring the paddy, the rice, and every food grain before her. This was the beginning of the story being played in Bengali, and in English translation it has become the ant. Now she tries to save every farthing for the family so that her family would be the ideal family. And every danger comes to the family, she tries to protect the family from that danger. And she has earned the nickname Kripon or miser because she saves every farthing for the family's future, like the ants. And she saw the ants, they were saving everything for the future. So, there is a funny story about this story. While I was reading this story in a reading session, then this lady was dying. Then one of the listeners stood up. He said, if you just kill this lady, I will kill you. This was the reaction in the reading of that story session. So I remember this. Then, while she was dying, that struck me highly. I'll be just taking one paragraph from the end of my story. Please have an attention. Hardly she could re-inch even a year, then she fell down. Her basket drifted apart, it rolled and rolled on. She, being the last point of consciousness, felt that a large column of devils was eating into her soul, moving freely, would eat the vitals, and she lost the strength even to lift her hands up. She struggled to open her eyes, and she saw death standing close to her. She saw him without, and she shouted repeatedly, "Come, you mortal, your days are done." "Wait," she exclaimed. "How could I go with you? I have still so many duties to perform. I'll not go, no. With frail hands, she caught hold of the earth, thrust her face into, pricked by the remains of paddy roots. She burnt her face on the ground, hot, burning, pricking. Yet she exclaimed, "You heaven, do you hatch a conspiracy against me? I must not go, I must not." Once again, she was being lost into a deeper coma. Moment by moment, sleep came creeping slowly, but she didn't want sleep. She wanted to remain awake. And in the tug of war, she desperately tried to open her sinking eyes. And what did she see? She noticed the grand exodus of a big column of ants. It was as if the same column, untired, relentless, even being robbed, it had not lost its grip on paddy. But now she seemed to get her senses back. She took her strength to utter, "Hey, unkind gods, you the Lord Yama! No, I shall not go. No, I have to make provision for the rainy days. Otherwise, my house, the house of my dream, the home of my dream would be washed away. No, you cannot take me. No." There came a sensation on her, as if many were crawling on her. Looking dimly at that advancing column of hands, she discovered she had developed many a number of legs in her, and slowly but stealthily she stood on those legs. Her face was hanging in front. She herself looked like an ant, and with the help of numerous legs, she was seen carrying life to eternity. Thank you all.